Dementia Researcher with a blog and a rating.
My last blog on how sleep impacts brain health sparked a lot of interest, and since then, more people have asked me about how other everyday lifestyle factors can influence brain health. So, my next few blogs will look at other lifestyle factors, what evidence actually says about it, and what I think in my own scientific opinion as a dementia researcher. This blog is one for gym goers, and for those who do resistance training and weightlifting, whether resistance training and weightlifting benefits the brain, and if it can reduce the risk of developing dementia. Alongside weightlifting, many people use workout supplements to enhance their training. One example is creatine, which is the most popular supplement in the fitness community, used to boost training and recovery. As well as helping with strength and physical performance, creatine might also be supporting brain health and protecting against cognitive decline. This has caused a lot of controversy whether it is good to take supplements like creatine on a regular basis, for the brain at least. It is important to remember that I am not a dietitian or a clinician, and I am looking at research studies and using my own scientific knowledge of the brain to form the basis of this discussion. Now, this part of the blog will focus on weightlifting and resistance training. Over the past decade, many studies have explored how lifting weights can influence cognitive function, reducing the risk of dementia, and support healthy brain aging. Dementia has many risk factors and comorbidities that significantly enhance the disease progression. The Lancet stated that addressing modifiable lifestyle risk factors can prevent or delay 45% of dementia cases worldwide. This is almost half of all dementia cases globally, and these include diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and high blood pressure. People living with these conditions are more likely to develop cognitive decline and dementia later in life, as they have been associated with increased inflammation, damage to blood vessels supplying energy to the brain, and a greater buildup of the toxic dementia-causing proteins such as amyloid beta and tau. Weightlifting and resistance training help to alleviate these risk factors, benefiting the brain in several ways. One of the ways weightlifting may benefit the brain is by improving insulin sensitivity and metabolic health. The question is, how does weightlifting specifically target this insulin pathway? The obvious answer is that it increases muscle mass, which is the body's main site for glucose uptake. The more muscle you have, the more glucose can be removed from the bloodstream and stored, keeping blood sugar levels stable. Resistance training also decreases visceral fat, which is a fat stored around vital organs. High levels of this visceral fat is strongly linked to insulin resistance, inflammation, and cardiovascular disease. Weightlifting can also mitigate dementia risk by reducing inflammation. Neuroinflammation creates a harmful environment in the brain, where the brain's immune cells, called astrocytes and microglia, become overactive and release toxic proteins that destroy neurons. This creates major tissue damage, resulting in the cognitive decline seen in dementia. Evidence has shown that weightlifting lowers this chronic inflammation in the body, as your working muscles release anti-inflammatory chemicals called myokines. So people who regularly exercise and lift weights often have lower levels of inflammatory markers in their blood, creating a much healthier environment for the brain and lowers the risk of dementia. Another way weightlifting can improve brain health and reduce dementia risk is through increasing blood flow. If I'm being honest, I am very biased on this point. My entire 4-year PhD has primarily focused on why blood flow is important in dementia, and how reduced blood flow may be a key marker in neurodegenerative disease. This is especially true in comorbidities like heart disease, hypertension, and diabetes. So if there is any evidence that weightlifting increases blood flow to the brain, I would subjectively be in agreement that this is an amazing way for reducing dementia progression. It just so happens that evidence does show that weightlifting increases blood flow throughout the body, including the brain. This increased blood flow raises the energy supply to the brain, meaning that neurons are nourished with the oxygen, glucose, and nutrients needed to function. Just to highlight this importance, the brain is only 2% of your body weight, but constantly uses 80% of your total blood supply. I've actually covered this topic in much more detail in a previous blog, where I explain why healthy blood flow is important for brain function and how reduced blood flow can actually contribute to dementia. I'll leave a link to that below if you'd like to read this in more detail. So in summary, evidence has shown that regular resistance training can improve executive function, memory, and cognitive performance in older adults, and may even slow cognitive decline. Rather than working through a single pathway, weightlifting appears to benefit the brain in several ways. It improves metabolic health, reduces inflammation, lowers blood sugar, reduces insulin resistance, increases muscle mass, reduces visceral fat, and most importantly, in my eyes at least, increases blood flow. Let's now move on to the effects of gym supplements, such as creatine. Most gym goers out there will know exactly what creatine monohydrate is, and most people I know who do weightlifting use this supplement and have actually asked me how it affects the brain. A popular BBC article was published last year on this topic, which arose a lot of interest. Creatine monohydrate is the most heavily researched and legal supplement on the market. Research into creatine began in the 1970s with the late Professor Harris at Aberystwyth University. Decades of research since then have proven its benefits in building muscle mass, boosting strength, and reducing physical fatigue. Our bodies naturally produce small amounts of creatine in organs such as the liver and kidneys. We can also get it from foods like red meat and oily fish. The biology behind how creatine works in the body is important to understand, so let's rewind a few years, or 10 in my case, to some A-level biology. During weight training, your muscles rapidly burn through their primary energy source, called ATP. Once the ATP has been used up, it breaks down into a temporary byproduct called ADP. This causes your muscles to become fatigued and tired. This is where creatine acts as an energy reserve. It is stored in the body as phosphocreatine and produces a molecule that turns that used up ADP back into usable ATP. This gives your muscle the rapid and immediate energy needed to lift that extra weight or to push you that bit harder in your workout. And this is why people regularly take the supplement creatine monohydrate. As we know, the brain relies so heavily on a constant energy supply. There is a genuine biological reason to think that creatine could help our brains by instantly making more energy when it is depleted. Limited research has shown that using creatine to refill these empty energy sources can actually provide cognitive benefits. A recent meta-analysis found modest improvements in memory, attention, and processing speed. It looks at a deeper mechanism called neurogenesis, which is the regeneration of new neurons. This means creatine can help the brain repair itself, which is useful as dementia and neurodegeneration is caused by the death of neurons. And scientists are also now investigating whether creatine can help with mood disorders by helping clear stress-induced brain fog, fight fatigue, and sharpen memory. However, it is important that we do not get carried away with these modest results. The effects of creatine on the brain are small, and the data is inconsistent. These cognitive improvements are short-term and are only noticeable when the brain is actively under stress, such as from sleep deprivation or age-related fatigue. Furthermore, although creatine have been proven to be incredibly safe, it still comes with mild side effects. In fact, the Alzheimer's Drug Discovery Foundation also mentioned that these benefits haven't actually translated into real disease prevention in human trials. While preclinical experiments show that creatine can protect cells and boost cognitive function, the results in humans are small and highly variable. It just hasn't been shown to reverse or prevent neurodegeneration. In my opinion, creatine is best viewed as a potential tool for increasing short-term brain power through increasing your body's overall energy reserve, rather than directly affecting the brain. In short, weightlifting has strong evidence for helping long-term brain health and for reducing your dementia risk. For gym supplements like creatine, there is some hopeful evidence for improving cognition, but the evidence that reduces dementia risk is very minimal. Currently, it shouldn't be considered as a cure or a preventative supplement against dementia. Now, I should take my own advice and finally start lifting some weights at the gym.
Thank you for listening. Join the Dementia Research bloggers and share your own views.